Good evening. Like I said last time, I don't have the parts to repair the EverReady N3, but I do have time to repair the box in which it was mounted, and if I'm lucky with the weather, tomorrow or the day after, I might be able to sand it so that I can cover it in vinyl. Anyway, after a close look at the box, I noticed that, as you can see in the corner, it's quite loose. And it's the same thing at the four corners of the box. So I'll be repairing this by gluing the four corners together, and then use this tightener to put pressure all around the box, all around the perimeter of the box, so that the corners are kept together properly while the glue sets. And I will be doing this not only with the bottom box, but also with one of the corners of the cover, which is also loose. I don't know which one exactly. Not this one, not this one, nor this one. So it must be this one. Yes, yes it is. It is. So this corner will need some repair too. And I will use the same method, which is to put some glue in between the two pieces of wood, and then put a spanner, a tightening band around it, and let it dry overnight. It doesn't really matter if the glue is squeezed out of it, because, like I said, I'm going to sand the box anyway. So, and with the sanding, any excess of glue will be sanded off. Now, just to show you, this box is really not made of expensive wood or anything. As you can see, they used simple plywood, which they tooled a little bit in a corner pattern, which you can see better on the bottom box. So they tooled it into small corners which slot into each other, and I think they did that for two reasons. One, to give the box a little bit of extra strength, because it gives more surface for the glue to work on, and secondly, because it also blocks the two sides so that they can't shift when there's strain put on them. Because if it would have been a flush cut, a 45-degree cut, the two sides would have been able to slide along one another, and well, that would have made it much harder to assemble. So that's it. I'm going to glue it now, and I'm going to use a special caulk which can be used to either close gaps in between wood or any other stuff, plastic or metal, and which hardens and becomes really very sticky, but doesn't become rock hard. It still leaves a little bit of flexibility, so that when the wood expands or contracts, it won't crack. Also, this stuff can be painted over. So, not that I'm going to paint the box, but anyway, you can put paint over it. Yeah, and I'm not going to use exceptionally large quantities of it, just enough to put in between the two sides with this wooden stick. So let me just do this now, and I'll get back to you once I'm ready with putting the caulking between all four sides. Alright, I'll see you in a minute. And the minute is over. So, as you can see, I tightened the nylon band, you know, pretty hard, not extremely hard, but hard enough. And as you can see, the result is that it squeezes out the glue or the caulk in the corner of the box, which I expected it to do, you know, because the pressure mounted on the two boards. So yes, I'm happy with it, and I'll leave it to dry like this for, say, 24 hours, something like that. And normally the glue should set, and once it has set, then I can start to sand it off, to sand the excess off, and prepare the box for the next step, which is to recover it in vinyl. I bought a nice red vinyl, which I'm going to show you. Hang on. And here is the vinyl of which I spoke. As you can see, it looks pretty much like the vinyl I removed. The texture is really pretty much the same. The only difference is that the back of the vinyl, this vinyl, is a sort of a felt, a very thin felt, whereas the other was more like a woven textile of some kind. In any case, it looks really nice, and it was not expensive at all. I think I bought 1 square meter for €5 or something like that, which would make it around about $7. Not too expensive. Now, as you remember, the box was covered partly in red. It had a red band, pretty much where this tightener runs right now, was a red band, and then at the bottom, covering the bottom and the side, was a yellow, green, grayish type of vinyl. However, I haven't found it, the right kind of vinyl. I keep looking, but I don't think I'll find any of the sort that theoretically would be needed. So probably I'm going to cover the whole box in the same red vinyl. But to compensate the fact that it's not going to be identically covered as it used to be, I'll use a very discreet but nice gold-colored beading running all around the side of the box in every direction. I mean, along the sides, of course. And I'll try to look for brass hinges and brass locks instead of those cheap rusty metal hinges which were mounted on this box. So let's say I'm going to update the box a little bit. Not too much, mind you, still in the spirit of the 50s, but not exactly the way it used to be. I don't see any harm in doing that. First of all, it's not an extremely valuable radio. And secondly, as long as you stay in the spirit of the function of this radio, and you don't exaggerate and make something completely gaudy out of it, I think it's perfectly okay to update it with a little bit more aesthetically pleasing material, and bring it maybe a little bit up to date to the 21st century. But only in minor details. I'm not going to do anything extremely drastic. Anyway, what I also intend to do is to keep the old parts which were mounted originally on the radio. That includes the electronic parts and pieces, let's say the cleanest pieces of the vinyl cover that was used on this box. You might say sort of a time capsule. You know, if somebody else gets this radio one way or another, they'll be able to compare the state it is in with the material it was covered in before it got restored. That way they'll still get a good idea of how it must have looked and how the people must have seen it the very first time they bought it. So that's it for now. I'll be repairing the top side of the box now, exactly in the same way as I did this, and I hope I'll be getting the electronic parts for repairing the chassis pretty soon. So that's it. Stay tuned, and I'll be seeing you all soon. Bye bye.